The comeback code. Rebuild your discipline. Reclaim your life. Stuck isn't forever. There are moments that split your life into two parts, before and after. For me, one of those moments happened in the middle of a first aid class. I was standing there, teaching, my health and safety company was thriving, students were learning, everything was under control. Then out of nowhere I heard it. Screaming. A sickening crunch. Glass shattering. Dust clouding the room. A car had just driven straight through the front wall of my building. The entire structure shook. Chaos everywhere. But I stayed calm, it's how I'm wired. I was trained for this. The building was unstable, so I evacuated everyone. I directed someone to call 911. Then I ran to the driver and began treatment. One injury. No deaths. Everyone survived. But something inside me didn't. Because the secret I had is, I was already dying on the inside long before that car ever hit the wall. See, that business I had built? It was strong. But I wasn't. I had systemized myself into boredom. I was no longer challenged. I had created a business that no longer needed me, and while that sounds like the dream, it felt like a coffin. I was slipping into depression, quietly, slowly, numbly. The crash didn't start it, just revealed it. So I made a wild choice. I sold the company, barely covering my debts, and at age 28 I enrolled in one of the hardest programming schools I could find. Complete career pivot. No background. No experience. Just a hunch and a hunger for something new. Up to that point, my life had been all about health and safety. I had trained as a nurse, an emergency medical responder, even a firefighter. I was used to adrenaline. I was used to action. I was used to being out there helping people. And now here I was, staring at a C++ screen wondering if I had made the dumbest decision of my life. The program had a 30% graduation rate. Most people dropped out. And honestly, I almost did too. I'd sit at my desk thinking, I'm not smart enough for this. What was I thinking? I'm not a tech guy. I barely know how to build a website. Who do I think I am? But I stuck it out. I fought through the doubt. I graduated. And I launched a new career earning $65,000 a year in software development. That was my first comeback. But not my last. Years later I found myself building again, this time on YouTube. I started a channel called Better Life Library, long-form audiobooks focused on personal growth. I built it from scratch and hit 9,500 subscribers in just a few months. No shorts. No gimmicks. Just quality, long-form content. Monetized in 4 months. I was fired up. For the first time in a long time I thought, this might actually become something. And then overnight, gone. Demonetized. Shut down. No warning. Just a cold email from YouTube telling me that even though I had rights to the content, it didn't meet their policy on originality. I was devastated. I had poured my time, my energy, my soul into this thing. And now it was being called not enough. And that stung because, deep down, I already believed that about myself. I've struggled with imposter syndrome most of my life. Even as I rebuilt my career, sold another company, launched a publishing house, and created powerful content, I still hear that inner critic whisper, you're not the expert. You're not good enough. Who do you think you are? That voice still haunts me. But here's what I've learned. You don't beat that voice with success. You beat it with systems. You beat it by showing up anyway, especially on the days when the metrics are low, the comments are silent, and the motivation is gone. That's why this book exists. Because I know I'm not the only one who's ever felt stuck, shut down, or not good enough. Let me tell you what the comeback code is, and what it's not. This isn't a feel-good memoir or a morning routine manifesto. This is a field-tested, science-backed, personal growth blueprint for getting back up. What you're about to hear isn't just my story, it's your story too. Because no matter what your crash looked like, burnout, failure, layoffs, shame, addiction, distraction, depression, I guarantee it left you wondering if the best version of you is already behind you. It's not. You just need the right system to rebuild your confidence, your discipline, and your identity. This audiobook is written from me, Dave Birnie, the creator of Better Life Library. But it's not about putting me on a pedestal. It's about showing you, from the inside out, what it looks like to fail hard, fall flat, and still find a way forward. I'm not perfect. I still struggle. I still have days where I want to stay in bed, throw out my goals, and quit YouTube all over again. But here's what I do have. A 12-week system that changed my life. A planner I designed to track my real progress. A deep understanding of how habits, identity, and psychology actually work, pulled from the research of people like James Clear, B.J. Fogg, Andrew Huberman, Carol Dweck, Brian Moran, and more. And a commitment to rebuild every time I get knocked down, even if it's at 2 a.m. before the world wakes up. Because I believe that when you rebuild your discipline, you reclaim your life. So here's how this works. Each chapter will tackle one of the core pillars of the comeback code, from eating your frog to reframing excuses, to rebuilding confidence and designing identity-based habits that stick. You'll hear real science. You'll hear my real story. And more importantly, you'll learn a repeatable, practical system that you can apply starting today. No fluff. No hype. No empty self-help slogans. This is a comeback book for people who are tired of faking it and finally want to make it real. You ready? Good. Because the truth is, you don't need another new year. You don't need another planner. You don't need another YouTube video telling you to hustle harder. You just need a system that works and the guts to follow through. No more 0 days. No more maybe next week. No more quitting after chapter 1. This is your comeback. Let's make it count. Chapter 1, the crash doesn't kill you, staying down does. Let's get one thing clear. Being stuck isn't a personality flaw, it's a system failure. Most people assume they're lazy, broken, or just not wired for discipline. But that's not true. You're not lazy, you're overloaded. You're not broken, you're burned out. And more often than not, you're stuck not because you lack desire, but because your mind is trying to operate without a clear framework for action. That was me, completely stuck. After the crash, after selling my business, and during the early months of learning to code from scratch, there were days I felt like I had nothing left in the tank. The old life was gone. The new one? It hadn't even begun yet. I wasn't lazy. I was lost. But thankfully, I discovered something that changed everything. Discipline isn't about motivation. It's about systems. Let's zoom out for a second and look at why most comebacks never happen. Not because people can't, but because they're caught in what I call the stall-out spiral. You hit a life disruption, a failure, burnout, breakup, layoff, shame spiral. You try to restart with willpower and emotion. You don't have a clear system, so you burn out again. The failure reinforces the lie that you're just not good enough. Sound familiar? This isn't theoretical. Psychologists like Dweck have proven that how you interpret failure determines your trajectory. People with a fixed mindset see failure as a verdict. I'm not good enough. I'll never be good enough. People with a growth mindset view failure as data. I'm not there yet, but I can learn. But even a growth mindset needs structure. That's where Albert Bandura's theory of self-efficacy comes in. He found that confidence, real, lasting belief in yourself, comes from something called mastery experiences, moments where you do hard things and succeed. That's how confidence is built, not through pep talks but through consistent follow-through. In other words, you don't need to feel confident to act. You need to act to feel confident. That principle changed my life. Let's go deeper. What really keeps people from rebuilding after they've been knocked down? One word: overwhelm. Modern neuroscience tells us that the prefrontal cortex, the decision-making part of your brain, fatigues quickly. When you're already emotionally drained, every little choice feels massive. Do I get up early or sleep in? Should I work out or check my phone? Do I start or do I scroll? Without systems in place, your brain defaults to comfort and avoidance. Not because you're weak, but because it's trying to preserve energy. This is known as decision fatigue, and it's a very real biological response. Researchers like Roy Baumeister found that willpower is a finite resource. It runs out as the day goes on. That's why it's so easy to eat clean at breakfast and crush a tub of ice cream at 9 p.m. It's not discipline, it's depletion. And this is where most people tap out. But here's the truth. You don't need more willpower. You need fewer decisions. After I lost my business and then almost lost myself trying to learn to code, I finally realized I couldn't think my way out. I had to structure my way forward. So I built systems, one piece at a time. I started with a planner. Then I layered in small routines. Then I tracked my progress. These weren't massive changes. They were tiny, practical shifts, but each one restored a little bit of self-respect. I wasn't back overnight, but I was no longer stuck. That's what Chapter 2 is about, the first concrete system I built to regain control, the 12-week year. It's a framework that taught me how to create urgency, measure progress, and actually finish what I start. It became the spine of my comeback, and it's still the system I use today. You'll get the full breakdown in the next chapter, but for now, just know this. You don't need to change your whole life. You just need to interrupt the spiral. Even if it's just by building one tiny win today. The first win is showing up. You don't need a second chance. You need a system that works when you're tired, uncertain, and full of doubt. That's what this book is about. Building a structure strong enough to carry you through the crash and beyond. You've already taken the hardest step, hitting play. Now let's make it count. Chapter 2 is the blueprint, and I'll show you exactly how I rebuilt my discipline, confidence, and momentum 1 week at a time. Chapter 2, Your Life Rebuilt in 12 Weeks. When you're stuck, everything feels far away. The version of you want to become, the disciplined one, the confident one, the healthy, focused, fully alive version of you, feels like it's sitting 12 miles down a road you can't seem to walk. So what do most people do? They make the classic mistake. They set massive year-long goals with zero structure to support them. I'm going to lose 50 pounds this year. I'm going to start a business by December. I'm going to write a book, get fit, sleep better, and read 30 books this year. And then they fail by February. I know this firsthand. I used to do it too, over and over again. Here's the problem with year-long goals. You think you have time. It's a lie your brain tells you. And psychology has a name for it: temporal discounting. We discount the urgency of actions when the reward feels far away. So January feels full of hope. February? Still fine. But then March comes, and nothing has changed. You start to feel the guilt, but not enough to act. Then comes June, halfway through the year, and you realize you're miles off course. Cue the shame spiral. Or the overcorrection. Or just quitting altogether. Here's what finally snapped me out of that loop. A year is too long to focus. But 12 weeks? 12 weeks is war. The 12-week year changed everything. I discovered the framework through the book The 12-Week Year by Brian Moran, and it instantly clicked. The idea is simple. What if you treated every 12 weeks like a full year? You set 1 or 2 core goals. You break them down into weekly targets. You track your execution. And you measure success weekly, not yearly. That simple shift changed my life. Instead of hoping I'd stay consistent for 365 days, I focused for 84. And because the deadline was close, my brain kicked into gear. There was no time to delay. Every week mattered. When I committed to this 12-week model, I realized I needed more than a vague idea. I needed a way to see my progress, week by week. So I built my own system, a custom 12-week year planner. It's the single most important tool I use to this day. And here's exactly how it works. Small blue diamond step 1. Set 3 to 5 goals across life domains. I choose goals in categories that matter to me. Faith, family, health, business, personal. But the key is this: I only choose what I'm willing to track and finish. No fluff, no maybe goals. Only what matters. Small blue diamond step 2. Break goals into weekly actions with weighted values. Each goal gets broken down into recurring tasks. Then I assign each one a value, based on either how much time it takes or how hard it is. Example: praying on my knees equals 7 points / week, 1 per day. Writing 1 chapter equals 10 points. Deep work block equals 5 points. Every task becomes part of my weekly scorecard. And every week, I'm aiming to hit a total percentage, ideally over 85%. This is accountability in real numbers. Not feelings. Not vibes. Data. Small blue diamond step 3. Weekly review plus adjust. At the end of every week I total my score. Write what worked. Write what failed. Make an adjustment. Then I go again. This system keeps me moving even when I feel stuck. It gives me clarity, data, and direction. And best of all, it makes the invisible visible. No more wondering, am I making progress? With this system, I know. Here's why this works, not just for me but for anyone. Parkinson's law states, work expands to fill the time available for its completion. When you give yourself 12 months to hit a goal, you'll take all 12, and probably still miss. But give yourself 12 weeks? You focus fast. You act now. Your brain rewards visible progress. That means hitting a task on a checklist releases dopamine. That's what keeps motivation alive, not just dreaming big but executing small. The 12-week structure gives you tight feedback loops, and those loops fuel momentum. Tracking progress visually activates the endowment effect. You start to value your work more because you see how much you've already invested. You build pride. And pride drives persistence. If you're listening right now and thinking, I could use that planner, I've got something for you. Drop a comment and let me know if you'd want a copy. If enough people ask, I'll post it, 100% for free. No paywall. No email list. Just a simple download to help you rebuild your system the same way I rebuilt mine. This tool changed the way I operate. And if it helps you too, that's the win I care about most. So yeah, leave a comment if you want it. This chapter might sound simple, but don't let that fool you. 1 focused quarter beats a wasted year. A 12-week sprint can change everything if you commit, not to perfection, not to hype, but to clarity. Set the goals, break them down, track the week, review, adjust, repeat. That's it. That's the comeback code in motion. In the next chapter, I'll show you exactly why this system works even when your motivation completely dies. Because let's be honest, it will. You won't feel like doing it every day. But if you build the right systems, you'll show up anyway. And that's when the real transformation begins. Let's talk systems. Let's talk habit design. Let's talk Chapter 3. Chapter 3. Systems beat motivation. Every time. Some mornings I wake up at 2:30 and feel ready. Other mornings, not so much. I stare at the ceiling. I feel the weight of the day before it even starts. And if I let that feeling win, I'll lose everything I've built. So I do the same thing every time. I roll over. I sit up. I whisper the same phrase to myself. The only competition is who I was yesterday. That's not just a quote. It's my system's ignition switch. It gets my feet on the floor before my brain can start listing all the reasons I should go back to bed. We give motivation way too much power. You've probably felt it, that rush of excitement when you start a new habit. You buy the planner, download the app, watch a video and think, this is it. And for a few days maybe it is. But then your mood dips. Life gets busy. You skip a day, or 2, or 10. And the goal that felt so clear suddenly feels far again. That's where most people give up. Not because they didn't want it enough, but because they were depending on a fuel source that was never meant to last. Motivation is a spark, but systems are the engine. Let's break down why motivation fades. Motivation is emotional energy, and emotional energy is volatile. It changes with sleep, stress, food, weather, hormones, and 100 other things outside your control. Researchers call this state-dependent behavior. Meaning, the version of you that sets goals on Monday night is not the same version of you that tries to follow through Wednesday morning. That's why wanting it isn't enough. We need something more durable, more repeatable, something that doesn't rely on how we feel in the moment. We need structure. A system is just a repeatable process designed to make the right thing easier and the wrong thing harder. Here's what that looks like in real life. Every morning I follow the same flow. I wake up early before my brain can negotiate. I pray on my knees, habit stacked to my wake up. I brew coffee and head to my desk. I open my planner and pick the focus for the next 90 minutes. Then I enter a flow state, headphones in, distractions out, timer on. That sequence is a system. It doesn't rely on willpower. It runs on rhythm. And the more often I follow it, the easier it gets. It's not perfect, but it's consistent. And consistency wins. In Atomic Habits, James Clear writes, "You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems." That line hit me like a punch in the chest the first time I heard it, because for years I had high goals, but no floor, no system, no structure, just vibes and energy, until I burned out again. Now, I don't trust my feelings. I trust my framework. That's the shift. If you want to stick to any habit, fitness, writing, business, prayer, you've got to reduce friction. B.J. Fogg, a behavior scientist from Stanford, calls it the ability factor. His research shows that people don't quit because they're lazy. They quit because the action feels too big in the moment. So what's the fix? Start tiny. Stack habits to existing ones. Celebrate instantly. Want to journal more? Don't commit to 10 pages a day. Just write one sentence after you pour your morning coffee. Want to exercise? Don't set a 1-hour routine. Do 5 push-ups before you shower. Make the habit so small it's impossible to skip. And then, this part matters, celebrate it. Literally smile. Say, yes. Fist bump the air. It feels cheesy, but Fogg's research shows it rewires the brain to associate the habit with a hit of dopamine, the same chemical that gets triggered when you win. If it feels good, your brain remembers it. That's how you build repetition. Let's take it one step further. Don't just do the habit. Let it change how you see yourself. James Clear calls these identity-based habits. You're not trying to write. You're a writer. You're not trying to work out. You're the kind of person who trains. Every small action becomes a vote for the kind of person you want to become. This is what helped me rebuild after being demonetized on YouTube. I felt like a failure. I questioned everything. But I didn't stop making. I showed up, recorded, researched, and published anyway. And over time, I started believing it again. I'm not just running a channel. I'm a creator. That identity kept me going, even when no one was watching. Remember, design beats discipline. You can have the strongest will in the world, But if your environment is working against you, you'll lose. So build your life like an architect. Design your desk for focus. Design your phone for silence. Design your schedule so your hardest task happens first. We'll talk about that in Chapter 5. Make the healthy choice the default choice. Make the distractions harder to reach. This is how discipline becomes automatic. Let me be honest, I don't feel motivated every day. Sometimes I wake up at 2:30 and want nothing more than to crawl back under the covers. But then I step into the system I built. I brew the coffee. I open the planner. I enter the routine. And somewhere in that rhythm, I come back to life. Not because I felt like it, but because I decided ahead of time what mattered. That's the power of systems. They carry you on the days your emotions can't. In the next chapter, I'll break down the most common excuses that derail momentum and how to dismantle them before they take over. But for now, ask yourself, what's one habit you could make easier? What's one routine you could stack to something you already do? And what identity are you voting for with the way you show up each day? You don't need more energy. You need a better engine. Chapter 4. Excuses are emotional. Here's how to kill them. Excuses are easy. They're fast, believable, and comfortable. They sound like protection, like logic. But underneath, excuses are fear wearing a mask. I've made every excuse you can imagine. I don't have time. I'm too tired. I need to rest. I'll start Monday. I'm just not wired for this. And the more convincing the excuse sounds, the more dangerous it is, because we start to believe it. The worst part? Excuses don't sound like lies. They sound like facts. But facts don't get results. Here's something that helped me understand my own patterns. Most excuses are emotional, not logical. They don't come from your calendar. They come from your overwhelm. They come from doubt, perfectionism, fatigue, fear of judgment, fear of failure, or fear of success. If you've ever bailed on your goal for the day, odds are it wasn't because you ran out of time. It's because you ran into resistance. So let's name it. Let's break down the 5 most common excuses, and how to destroy each one with systems, science, and better self-awareness. Excuse number 1, I don't have time. This is the most common excuse on earth. And it feels real. You look at your schedule, your kids, your job, your to-do list, and your brain goes, nope, impossible. But here's what I've found. We all have time. What we don't have is clarity. We don't block time for what matters. We don't batch. We don't protect. We leak hours on things that don't move us forward, and then say we're too busy. That's where systems step in. Time blocking is a weapon. My entire morning routine exists because it's pre-decided. From 3:30 to 5:30 a.m. I'm in flow, and no one can take it from me, because I've protected it. Want to reclaim time? Start with just one 30-minute block a day. Name it, schedule it, guard it. If you do that, even if everything else falls apart, you've made a deposit into your comeback. Excuse number 2, I'm too tired. Let's be honest, sometimes you are tired. But here's the distinction most people miss. There's a difference between being physically tired and being mentally tired from indecision. Scrolling all day wears you out. Avoiding your frog, your hardest task, drains your mental battery. Multitasking, social comparison, background stress, it piles up. And by the time you try to sit down and focus, your energy's already gone. What's the fix? Simplify your life. Lay out your clothes the night before. Choose your workout the night before. Set up your task list with one priority and no guesswork. When you reduce decisions, you reduce friction, and your body follows. And sometimes, you just need to start. Literally say to yourself, I'm just going to do 2 minutes. No commitment past that. What I've found, and the research backs this up, is that starting creates energy. Momentum beats fatigue. Excuse number 3, I don't know where to start. This one's sneaky. You want to make progress, but the path feels foggy. So instead of starting, you stay stuck in planning mode, or worse, scrolling mode. This is called analysis paralysis, the overthinking loop that kills action. So here's what I do. Shrink the task until it fits inside today. Don't plan the entire YouTube channel. Just open the script file and write one bullet point. Don't overhaul your diet. Just prep tomorrow's lunch. Don't try to conquer your whole life. Just win the next hour. When in doubt, do the smallest next step. Excuse number 4, I tried before, and failed. This one hits deep, because it's tied to shame. You tried to lose the weight and gained it back. You launched the business and it didn't work. You started a new habit and abandoned it, again. So now your brain tells you a story. You're someone who never follows through. That's not truth. That's trauma. The fact that you tried already puts you ahead of the crowd. And the fact that you're still trying? That makes you dangerous. Here's what I've learned from neuroscience in my own life. You're not rebuilding from zero. You're rebuilding from experience. Every attempt you've made has taught you something. Now it's time to use it. This time you're not relying on hype. You're using structure, systems, support, and identity. That's the difference. Excuse number 5, I'm just not that type of person. This excuse usually comes with a shrug. I'm just not disciplined. I've never been consistent. I've always been the flaky one. That's identity speaking. And if you don't rewrite that script, it'll run your life. James Clear said it best. Every action is a vote for the type of person you want to become. You want to be a disciplined person? Start with one disciplined act. You want to be consistent? Show up today even if it's small. Over time, your habits shape your identity. And your identity shapes your habits. This isn't just positive thinking. It's called self-signaling, and it's one of the strongest tools in behavioral science. You show yourself who you are by what you do, not by what you intend. Let's make this practical. Here's a 4-step formula I use when I feel the excuses creeping in. Name the excuse. Write it down. Be honest. Find the emotion underneath it. Fear? Shame? Confusion? Shrink the action. What's the tiniest step I can take anyway? Do it, then celebrate. Out loud. Smile. Fist pump. Whatever works. Repeat this. Daily. Until the excuses lose their grip. One last thing, and it's important. Excuses grow louder when no one's watching. That's why accountability matters. That's why I track my week. That's why I score myself. That's why I made my 12-week planner public. That's why I post my audiobooks and ask for feedback. Not because I always want to, but because when I feel seen, I stay aligned. You don't have to build in secret. Let people into your process. Let them hold you up when the weight gets heavy. You're not lazy. You're not weak. You've just had systems that made it easy to escape. Now you're building systems that make it easy to execute. That's the difference. Next up, we go deeper. Chapter 5 is all about small wins, and how tiny victories stacked daily can transform everything. Chapter 5, Small Wins, Big Momentum. Let me tell you something most people get wrong about success. It doesn't start with massive action. It doesn't come from all-night work sessions, full lifestyle overhauls, or motivational sprints. It starts with something small. One decision. One rep. One shift. Repeated. That's how momentum is built. And once momentum takes over, it's like gravity working in your favor. For years, I thought the key to change was to go all in. So I did what most people do. I'd set a huge goal. I'd commit hard. And for a while, I'd crush it. Until I didn't. I'd burn out. Miss a day. Feel ashamed. And then I'd scrap the whole thing. You know what fixed it? I stopped trying to win big. And I focused on winning small, consistently. Why small wins matter so much? There's science behind this. A small win creates something called a success loop. You take action. That action gives you progress. That progress creates positive emotion. That emotion builds identity. And now you want to do it again because you feel like it's working. Researchers like Teresa Amabile at Harvard found that the single biggest motivator in long-term work is a sense of progress. Even tiny progress. So when you complete a small task, a workout, a journal entry, 5 minutes of focused writing, your brain releases dopamine, the reward chemical. And it doesn't just feel good, it builds your capacity to keep going. Action, progress, identity, momentum. That's the loop. You've probably heard the phrase, eat the frog. It comes from Brian Tracy, the idea that you should tackle your hardest, most important task first thing in the day. And I believe in that. But some days, the frog feels too big. That's when you need to slice it smaller. Let me give you an example. Some mornings I wake up at 2:30 a.m. and don't want to get out of bed. So instead of saying, write a chapter, I say, open the document and write the first sentence. That's it. Once I'm in motion, everything changes. The brain wants to finish what it starts. It's called the Zeigarnik effect. Unfinished tasks create tension. That tension becomes energy. And that energy keeps you going. The trick is just starting. One of the best tools I've ever used is from James Clear, the 2-minute rule. When starting a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes. That sounds almost laughable. But think about it. Do 10 push-ups becomes put on your workout shoes. Read 10 pages becomes open the book. Write a chapter becomes write one sentence. Why does this work? Because motivation follows action, not the other way around. You don't wait to feel motivated. You act and momentum builds. Let's bring this back to identity. Your brain believes what you repeatedly do. Every time you follow through on a small win, you reinforce the belief. I'm the kind of person who shows up. You're casting votes. And those votes accumulate. That's how I rebuilt confidence after I lost monetization on YouTube. I started small. One video. Then another. No metrics. No praise. Just proof to myself that I wasn't done. Now, every early morning I spend writing or recording, it's another vote. Every line I type. Every paragraph I finish. It's not about perfection. It's about staying in motion. You ever notice how hard it is to get started after a long break? But once you've got momentum, it's harder to stop? That's the snowball effect. Once you've stacked enough small wins, the system carries itself. Your morning routine becomes automatic. Your food choices get easier. Your mindset feels clearer. You've created a gravitational pull toward progress. That's what you're building now. Go even further. Track them. Every time you check off a task, write it down or see it scored, you're reinforcing the loop. That's why I built my 12-week planner the way I did. Every task has a weight. Every week has a score. And every score gives me clarity on where I'm trending. It's not about shame. It's about feedback. When I see a 90% week, I'm proud. When I see a 50% week, I know exactly where to improve. That's how small wins become smart systems. If you're listening right now thinking, it's all too much, let me challenge you with this. Just win today. Don't plan the whole comeback. Don't think about the entire 12 weeks. You don't need to start with 5 goals and 40 tasks. Just pick one small action that reinforces who you want to become. And then, do it again tomorrow. Stack the wins. Build the loop. Let momentum carry you into the life you know you're capable of living. In the next chapter, we'll talk about the most powerful discipline tool I know. Eat the frog, first. Every day. Chapter 6. Eat the frog, first. Every day. There's a moment, every single morning, where you're standing at a crossroads. You can hit snooze, or you can swing your legs out of bed. You can scroll, or you can show up. It's in those early minutes, the foggy, quiet ones, that the entire day is decided. And if you want to master discipline, productivity, and forward momentum, you've got to win that moment. That's where the frog comes in. What does it mean to eat the frog? This idea comes from a quote attributed to Mark Twain. If it's your job to eat a frog, it's best to do it first thing in the morning. And if it's your job to eat 2 frogs, eat the biggest one first. Brian Tracy turned that idea into a book and a practice. Your frog is the one task you're most likely to avoid, but also the one that would make the biggest difference. It's the workout you keep skipping, the hard conversation, the next chapter, the cold call, the alarm clock. For me, my frog is waking up at 2:30 a.m. That moment, rolling over, feeling the warmth of the blankets and deciding to rise anyway, that's my daily battle. And when I win it, the rest of the day falls into place. Your brain has limited decision-making energy each day. It's called decision fatigue. The more choices you make, the harder it becomes to make the next one. This is why your willpower is strongest in the morning, because it hasn't been drained yet. So if you delay your hardest task until later, guess what happens? You procrastinate. You rationalize. You distract. You waste energy thinking about the thing, instead of just doing it. That's why you eat the frog first. You remove the mental weight. You create momentum. You own the day. One of the best systems I've used is this. Start each day by identifying one most important task, your frog. Then schedule it into your morning. Block it. Protect it. Guard it like gold. When you do that task first, everything else becomes easier. You've already proven to yourself that you can follow through. You've already built integrity before 8 a.m. You're not chasing the day anymore. You're leading it. Here's how this plays out for me. Alarm goes off at 2:30 a.m. I whisper, the only competition is who I was yesterday. I swing my legs out of bed before my brain can argue. Coffee. Prayer. Down to the basement. No social media. No email. Just the frog. Sometimes that's writing. Sometimes it's planning a chapter or recording an audiobook. Sometimes it's business strategy. But always, it's the thing I least want to do but know will move me forward. That's the rule. Eat the frog, first. When you start your hardest task first, you activate something called activation energy. It's the initial push required to get over inertia. And once you're moving, momentum builds. You've probably felt this. It's hard to start the workout, but once you're in it, it's fine. Hard to open the doc, but once you're writing, it flows. Hard to press record, but once you start talking, you hit your stride. That first 5 minutes? That's the fight. Win those, and you win the rest. Here's what people don't realize. When you eat the frog, you're not just completing a task, you're reinforcing your identity. You're showing yourself, I do hard things. And that's powerful. You don't need to say affirmations or journal about being disciplined. Just act like someone who is, and let your brain catch up. That's how confidence is built, not in hype but in habit. Let's get practical. Want to make your morning routine stick? Prep your space the night before. Write your frog down on a sticky note and put it where you'll see it. Remove digital distractions. Use a timer, even 10 minutes. Lower the bar, just do the first 2 minutes. You don't need to finish it, you just need to begin. Let's say you oversleep. Miss your block. The frog goes uneaten. Don't panic. You didn't lose the day, just the window. What's the next best time to do this? How can I prevent this tomorrow? Don't spiral. Strategize. And remember, the comeback isn't about being perfect. It's about staying in motion. So let me ask you, what's your frog? What task, if you did it first, would create the most momentum? Is it a workout? A writing session? A hard call? A personal promise? Whatever it is, you already know. Now will you do it? Because everything changes when you stop avoiding and start executing. One frog at a time. Chapter 7 is next, and it's all about how to make discipline automatic, so you don't have to rely on willpower at all. Chapter 7, Make Discipline Automatic. Discipline feels hard when it's manual. When every action takes effort, every habit feels like a battle. But what if you could make discipline feel effortless? Not perfect, not easy, but automatic. Like brushing your teeth, like putting on your seatbelt, like waking up and reaching for coffee before you're fully awake. You don't think about those things. You just do them. That's what we're building now, habits that run so smoothly, so naturally that they don't need to be forced anymore. Willpower isn't a strategy. If you've made it this far, you're already proving you've got some discipline. But I want to take that further, because willpower is not sustainable long-term. Studies show that willpower acts like a battery, it drains over time. Every decision, every hesitation, every should I or shouldn't I, pulls from the same mental fuel source. That's why you can feel strong in the morning, but by 8 p.m. your energy is gone and the cravings hit hard. The solution? Automation. You build habits that trigger on their own, with minimal resistance. That's how discipline becomes sustainable. Every habit follows a predictable pattern, a loop. Cue, the trigger that sets the habit in motion. Routine, the behavior itself. Reward, the payoff your brain gets for completing the action. Let's break it down with a real example. Cue, I wake up. Routine, I drop to my knees and pray. Reward, a calm mind. A centered start. A reminder of who I'm doing this for. That's not willpower. That's rhythm. It's wired into my day, and because it's meaningful, it sticks. Design your environment to trigger discipline. If you want to be consistent, don't just change your goals, change your surroundings. Want to work out in the morning? Lay your clothes out the night before. Want to drink more water? Put a bottle where you can see it. Want to avoid distraction? Leave your phone in another room. Your environment can either reinforce the right behavior or tempt you to avoid it. Discipline starts with design. One of the best things I ever did was delete every app on my phone except for YouTube and the basics. No Instagram. No TikTok. No endless scroll traps. It wasn't about self-denial. It was about creating fewer distractions to fight. Clear calls this habit stacking, and it's one of the fastest ways to build a new habit. Here's how it works. After I, current habit, I will, new habit. Simple, but powerful. After I pour my coffee, I open my planner. After I brush my teeth, I prep my gym bag. After I log off work, I review my scorecard. You're attaching something new to something automatic. Over time, the new habit becomes part of the sequence. No extra thought required. That's how you upgrade your routines without adding mental stress. Make it too easy to fail. BJ Fogg's research says the same thing, but with a different flavor. He recommends what's called the starter step. Reduce the action until it's impossible to skip. Not 50 push-ups. Just put on the workout clothes. Not a 20-minute journal. Just write one line. Not cleaning the garage. Just open the door. Once you're in motion, momentum takes over. It's science. Your brain rewards completion, not complexity. Most people miss this part. You need to celebrate to lock it in. If you want your brain to keep repeating a behavior, you need to reward it. Not with food. Not with guiltless Netflix. But with something immediate, like a smile, a yes, a deep breath, a fist pump. Sound cheesy? It works. BJ Fogg found that celebrating right after a habit reinforces it neurologically. It gives your brain a reason to remember it. And when something feels good, you're more likely to repeat it. Want to build serious momentum? Track what you want to multiply. Track your habits. Visibly. Daily. That's what my 12-week planner is for. Each habit gets a score. Each week gets a percentage. Each action gets logged. Why? Because when I track it, I care about it. Even if I miss, I can course correct. Even if I fail, I don't fly blind. Your brain loves closure, and a scorecard gives you closure every week. Let's take it deeper. If you want to make a habit automatic, don't just do it, become it. This isn't about waking up early. It's about being someone who values quiet focus. It's not about the gym. It's about being an athlete. Not about writing, it's about being a builder. Each repetition becomes a vote for the kind of person you believe you are. And when your actions and identity align, you don't have to force discipline. You live it. You don't have to push forever. Right now, it might feel like you're forcing yourself into a new way of living. That's okay. That's part of it. But over time, the friction fades. The resistance weakens. And what once took effort becomes natural. This is the goal. Not to always be motivated, but to always have momentum. That's what automation gives you. A structure that holds, even when life shakes. In the next chapter, we're going to talk about confidence and how to rebuild it when it's been shattered. Because showing up is great, but believing in yourself again? That's the comeback we're chasing. Chapter 8. Rebuilding Confidence. I used to think confidence was something you either had or didn't. That it came from talent, charisma, success. But after everything I've been through, from watching a car crash through my business, to sitting in a programming class wondering if I was the dumbest guy in the room, I've learned something different. And just like any result, it can be built, rebuilt, strengthened, over time. Even if yours feels like it's been shattered. Most people are waiting to feel confident before they act. But the science and my experience says the opposite. Confidence comes after action, not before it. Think of it like this. You don't suddenly become a confident runner. You run. And after showing up enough times, you become someone who believes, I can do this. Psychologists call this self-efficacy, your belief in your ability to succeed at a task. And it grows every time you complete something meaningful, especially if it's hard. Even tiny things. That cold shower you didn't skip. That workout you almost bailed on. That conversation you pushed through even while nervous. Every action casts a vote for the type of person you're becoming. And when those votes pile up, that's confidence. The silent killer, self-doubt on repeat. When I went back to school for programming, I was surrounded by people younger than me, faster than me, way more experienced than me. And there I was, 28, with no coding background, Googling how, if, statements worked and wondering if I just wrecked my life. Imposter syndrome? I lived it. It didn't matter that I had built and run a successful business. In that moment, I was just a guy drowning in curly brackets and semicolons. But here's what I learned. Confidence isn't the absence of doubt, it's action in spite of it. What science says about confidence? Here's the data. Dr. Albert Bandura, a pioneer in self-efficacy research, found that mastery experiences are the #1 way to build lasting confidence. Not affirmations. Not pep talks. Just doing hard things again and again until they're not so hard. Dopamine also plays a major role. Every time you complete a task, your brain releases dopamine, not just for the achievement but for the progress. This reinforces the behavior and builds belief. Carol Dweck's research on growth mindset shows that people who believe they can grow, who see failure as feedback, are significantly more resilient, persistent, and confident over time. You don't build confidence by thinking differently. You build it by doing consistently. Somewhere in my second year of school, it clicked. Not because I suddenly understood recursion. Not because I aced a test. But because I had stacked enough reps. I had survived enough days of I don't get this, and pushed through anyway. And I started to believe, maybe I am someone who can do hard things. That belief didn't come from success. It came from struggle. From repetition. From rising. If your confidence is low right now, that's not a flaw. It's a sign that your proof pile is too small. So let's change that. 1. Pick micro wins. Choose tasks that are challenging but achievable. Not write a book. Write 100 words. Not run every morning. Put on your shoes and walk 5 minutes. Momentum builds belief. 2. Track visible progress. You need to see your growth. That's why I score my week. That's why I journal. That's why I reflect. Progress you can see becomes progress you believe. 3. Speak from evidence. When your mind says, "You're not good enough," respond with, "I showed up at 4 a.m. today. I made 3 calls I didn't feel like making. I've already done 6 weeks of work most people would quit in week 2. Use your own actions as evidence. 4. Celebrate the identity, not the outcome. Don't just be proud that you finished the task. Be proud that you acted like the kind of person you want to be. Confidence that's based on identity is stronger than any one result. You're not going to wake up one day and suddenly believe in yourself again. You're going to earn that belief. Not through motivation. Through movement. Through doing what matters when it's uncomfortable, unsexy, and unnoticed. That's what I've done. From rock bottom to here. And if I can rebuild mine, you can rebuild yours. Let's get your next win. Let's get your next rep. The confidence comes later. But only if you start now. Chapter 9. Real accountability is a mirror. If you want to know how serious someone is about their goal, don't listen to what they say. Look at who's watching. Because when no one's looking, excuses get louder. When there's no check-in, intentions drift. When it's just you, in your own head, trying to push yourself forward, it's easy to stall out. That's why accountability is the secret weapon most people ignore. Not because it's flashy, but because it works. There are 2 types of accountability. Internal, you track your progress. You show up for yourself. You evaluate your own actions. External, someone else knows what you said you'd do, and they expect you to follow through. Both matter. But most people rely too much on the first, and resist the second. We say we don't need anyone, that we're fine on our own. But that's not strength. That's pride. And pride doesn't keep promises. Pressure does. Let's make this practical. Studies by the Association for Talent Development found that you're 10% likely to achieve a goal if you just think about it, 25% if you decide you'll do it, 50% if you plan how you'll do it, 65% if you commit to someone else that you'll do it, 95% if you schedule check-ins with that person. That's almost guaranteed follow-through, just by being accountable. Why? Because we're wired for social consistency. We want our actions to match our words, especially when someone else is watching. It's not about shame. It's about alignment. We do better when we know we'll be asked, "Did you do what you said you'd do?" That's why I built my weekly scorecard. My planner is my mirror. I needed something that didn't care about my feelings. Something that didn't pat me on the back for trying. Something that gave me data. Each week I see the numbers. Tasks completed. Percentages scored. Gaps in discipline. Wins in consistency. I don't always like what I see, but it keeps me honest. That's what accountability does. It holds up a mirror and says, "You're better than that. Let's adjust and go again." If you're listening right now and thinking, "I know I need this," good. You don't need to announce your goals to the world, but you do need to stop hiding them from everyone. Here are a few ways to get started. 1. Score your week. Use a system like mine, weighted tasks, percentages, and reflections. Don't make it complicated. Just track what matters. 2. Find an accountability partner. Someone who's chasing growth too. Set up a weekly check-in, 10 minutes. Honest, quick, direct. Not to judge, to sharpen. 3. Make a public promise. Post it. Share it. Speak it. When it's out there, it's real. Even a simple comment on a video, "I'm committing to this for the next 12 weeks. That matters. 4. Join a group. Whether it's in person or online, growth accelerates in community. You don't have to walk alone. And honestly, you shouldn't. When you know someone will ask you how your week went, you stop negotiating with your excuses. You stop hitting snooze without thinking. You stop letting one bad day slide into 5. You stay engaged. You stay awake. And when you fall, you get back up faster. That's the power of accountability. It doesn't make you perfect. It makes you present. If you've been listening to this audiobook thinking, "I wish I had that kind of system," you can. I built mine because I needed it. And if enough people want it, I'll give it away. Free. No catch. But more than that, I'm building something bigger. Better Life Library isn't just a YouTube channel. It's a comeback community. It's for people who want to grow, and grow together. If that's you, say something. Comment. Reach out. You don't have to be loud. You just have to show up. We're in this together. So, what's your mirror? Who knows what you're building? Who's allowed to ask, "Did you do what you said you'd do?" If the answer is no one, start there. Because the people who succeed, they don't rely on willpower. They rely on rhythm, structure, and being seen. Next up, Chapter 10, The Comeback Challenge. It's time to put all of this into action. Let's make your next 12 weeks count. Chapter 10, The Comeback Challenge. You've listened, reflected, and maybe you've even paused once or twice to stare off and think, could I actually do this? Let's make it real. This is the part where you stop consuming and start building. This is the line between ideas and action. It's time for your 12-week comeback. Not a fresh start. Not a New Year's resolution. Just a decision right now to begin. This isn't a plan. It's a warpath. If you've ever felt stuck, if you've fallen off more times than you can count, if you're tired of half-finished goals, old habits creeping back in, or watching other people chase their dreams while you're sitting in a notebook, then this next 12 weeks is your shot. Not to be perfect, but to prove that you're not done. To show up. To fight back. To move forward, even if it's 1 inch at a time. Not everyone's life looks the same. Your schedule, your energy, your responsibilities, they're yours. So let's build around that. Pick one of these 3 tiers, based on your current season. Small blue diamond tier 1. Minimum momentum. 1 goal. 1 daily habit. 15 minutes a day. Just enough to get the gears moving again. Perfect 4. Burnout recovery, new parents, high-stress seasons. Small orange diamond tier 2. Focused fire. 2 to 3 goals. Daily and weekly targets. 45 to 60 minutes/day broken into blocks. Perfect 4. Those ready to push with intention but not burn out. Red triangle pointed up tier 3. Full rebuild. 4 to 5 life categories. Daily scorecard and weekly reviews. 1.5 to 2 hours per day, mornings, lunch breaks, evenings. Perfect 4. High capacity seasons, life pivots, or launching something big. There's no shame in where you start. The goal is to start where you are and grow from there. Want to use the same system I do? I've already built the planner. It includes a 12-week overview. Space for life domain goals, faith, family, health, business, personal. Weighted task scoring. Weekly progress % tracking. And if you want it, just ask. If it helps you stay consistent, I want you to have it. Daily discipline prompts. Here's how I stay on track, every single day. 1. What's my frog today? The one task I least want to do, but need to. 2. What's one small win I can celebrate, even if it's tiny? 3. What am I reinforcing? Is today's action casting a vote for who I want to become? 4. What gets my first energy? Don't waste your best hours. Give them to your comeback. 5. How will I reset if I fall off? No shame. Just strategy. It's going to happen. You'll get sick, oversleep, hit a wall mentally and emotionally. Here's what I want you to remember. Missing 1 day is reality. Missing 2 becomes identity. When you fall forward. Journal. Reflect. Adjust. Then get back up the next day and make your first task so small it's impossible to fail. If you commit to this, you'll rebuild momentum. You'll feel more clear, more grounded, and more confident. Your routines will stabilize. Your identity will shift. You'll be able to say with real proof, I show up now. That matters more than you know. Final challenge. So here it is. No fluff. No hype. For the next 12 weeks, pick your tier. Set your goals. Score your progress. Track your frogs. Reflect weekly. Don't quit, even when it's ugly. Let the next 12 weeks be your evidence. Conclusion. The comeback starts when you do. If you want the planner, you know what to do. Drop a comment. Let me know. If you're starting the 12-week challenge, amazing. I'd love to hear what your goals are. And if you want more content like this, subscribe, hit like, and leave a comment. We do our best to respond to every comment. Let us know what you liked or didn't. Feedback is vital for growth. I'm building more. You're invited to come along. One last thing. Comebacks don't happen by accident. They happen on purpose. One small choice at a time. You don't need to be stronger. You don't need to be smarter. You don't need to wait. You just need to take the next step, today. Not for motivation. Not for approval. But because the life you want is already calling your name. And now, you know how to answer. Let's build the next chapter. Together. I'll see you on day 1.